Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. In the damp chill of a late October morning, the sleepy town of Grayson appeared shrouded in mist. Layers of fog clung to the narrow streets, distorting the world beyond. A silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the occasional rustle of wind through the bare branches of aging oaks lining the town square. It was quaint community that a storm was brewing, a storm that would reveal secrets long buried. The townspeople went about their morning rituals, sipping coffee in cozy cafes, exchanging pleasantries as they hurried along to work. But beneath the warmth of their smiles, tension simmered. It had been 3 weeks since the discovery of a body in the woods just outside Grayson. Sheriff Gary Thompson had taken the lead, a seasoned investigator with a furrowed brow and an unwavering commitment to justice. But the more he delved into the case, the more elusive the truth seemed to become. Conversations in the town turned towards whispers. Was it a tragic accident, or had something more sinister occurred? Familiars exchanged worried glances. Teachers groped for answers in their classrooms, and even the local baker found a sense of foreboding creeping into their daily routine. Fear had a way of permeating the air, and Grayson, usually a haven of tranquility, felt as though it was teetering on the edge of chaos. As the fog thickened, an unanswered question lingered. Who was the victim, and what had led them to this desolate end? Sheriff Thompson tightened his coat against the cold, resolute as he prepared to uncover the truth hidden beneath the layers of fog, in a town where every corner masked a story yet to be told. The victim. On that fateful day belonged to a man named Evan Dawson, a name unfamiliar to many in Grayson, but one that would soon knock on the doors of every house. Evan was a drifter, the kind of person who blended into the background, his presence often overlooked in the busyness of life. A young man in his late 20s, Evan sported a scruffy beard and an unkempt mop of hair that suggested a life lived on the move. He had been seen around town, mostly in the shadows, ordering coffee with change and watching the world go by from the corners of diners. When Sheriff Thompson secured the site where Evan's body lay about a mile from the worn dirt path leading to Collier Woods, it quickly became apparent that this crime would not be an open and shut case. The absence of personal effects warned of a darker narrative. No wallet, no identification. Not even a scrap of clothing that might reveal his last destination. Only the bramble-scratched flesh and the unnatural position of his limbs painted a chilling picture of disarray. As the forensic team worked meticulously under the muted glow of a gray sky, the surroundings echoed a haunting stillness. Fallen leaves crunched beneath their boots, and a distant crow's call served as a solemn dirge for Evan. A nearby rustle hinted at an unseen presence watching, reminding the sheriff that the secrets of the woods ran deeper than the surface. In the days to follow, the townsfolk would remember Evan Dawson through hushed conversations and furtive glances, each account layered onto the table of evidence Sheriff Thompson would sift through. But for now, he needed to piece together the life that had met such a tragic end in their little town, where darkness lay concealed beneath a serene facade. The crime scene. The investigation at the crime scene unfolded like a dark tapestry, revealing intricacies hidden in the surroundings of Collier Woods. Sheriff Thompson stood at the site, overshadowed by looming pines that whispered secrets with every breeze. His eyes scanned the ground, taking in every detail of scorched patches of earth where the fallen leaves crunched beneath his feet. the errant branches that gave an unsettling sense of claustrophobia. Forensics had outlined a perimeter, the white chalk contrasting sharply with the earth's dismal hue. They meticulously documented every piece of evidence, taking photographs that would one day tell a story of their own. Nearby, a patrol officer knelt, examining a broken twig that appeared out of place, its fracture fresh. Sheriff Thompson leaned closer, noting the slight indentations in the ground that suggested a struggle. This was not a random act of nature, but a scene painted with human intent. A sense of urgency coursed through him as he considered the implications of Dawson's death may have been violent, a culmination of a life lived on the margins. But who had pulled the trigger? Or perhaps who had wielded the weapon? The sheriff turned his attention to a nearby ravine where the brambles thickened ominously. Anyone had wandered this way during the months leading up to the crime, they might hold pieces of the puzzle. The local hikers and joggers could be key witnesses. Sheriff Thompson glanced at his team, the gravity of their task evident in their furrowed brows. This case would spread wide, and it had the potential to impact the fabric of the town profoundly. But with each passing hour, Evan's life slipped further from view, a cautionary tale of invisibility in a world preoccupied with the mundane. Sheriff Thompson's resolve strengthened. He would uncover the truth behind the shadows and ensure that the life taken would not fade into obscurity. The early investigation. In the wake of Evan Dawson's discovery, the sheriff's office was abuzz with act. The small department was used to the occasional petty theft or bar fight, but this murder investigation felt like a seismic shift in their routine. Sheriff Thompson gathered his team in the cramped conference room, the walls adorned with maps of Grayson and surrounding areas, where the murmurs of discontent and unease echoed like a heartbeat. "All right, folks, let's divide and conquer," Thompson directed, his voice steady but imbued with urgency. He gestured towards a bulletin board covered with photographs of Evan Dawson, images sourced from local businesses, as well as social media posts. "We need a full profile on this man, friends, acquaintances, anyone who might offer insight into his life." Detective Laura Hargrove, an astute investigator with a knack for detail, sorted through notes and hastily scribbled accounts from witnesses who claimed to have seen Evan around town. "Some say he was friendly, while others describe him as guarded," she noted, furrowing her brow in concentration. "We need to dig deeper into his background. Who was he really?" As calls flooded in from the field, the team methodically pored over Evan's last known whereabouts. Every diner, roadside stop, and liquor store became a potential breadcrumb in understanding the drifter's life. Meanwhile, Sheriff Thompson decided to visit Collier Woods once more, hoping to glean anything he might have missed. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to crawl across the earth. Alone amongst the trees, he retraced his steps, his thoughts heavy with implications. A flash of movement caught his eye, a piece of cloth, snagged upon a branch, subtly waving like a flag of hope, yet fraught with foreboding. Thompson's instincts warned him. A deeper story was lurking beneath the surface. As dusk settled in, the air grew thick with both uncertainty and determination. The investigation would stretch onward, a quest to unravel the layers of Evan Dawson's life, hoping to reveal not just who killed him, but why. The dead ends. As the days turned into weeks, Sheriff Thompson and his team began to feel the weight of frustration settle upon them. The initial excitement had faded, leaving them with a cold, persistent sense of helplessness. Interviews with locals produced a disheartening array of dead ends. Those who claimed familiarity with Evan Dawson mostly spoke of fleeting encounters, vague interactions, and borrowed conversations, all leading to nowhere. Detective Hargrove paced the small office, stack of witness statements in hand, each filled with half-hearted leads. Everyone's seen him, but few have anything substantial to share, she lamented, running her fingers through her hair in a gesture of exasperation. Each interview reinforced the notion that Evan was both present and invisibly an enigma wrapped in obscurity. The sheriff delved into Evan's past, reaching out to contacts in nearby towns, hoping to find someone who might shed light on his origins. As he dug deeper, personal details emerged: troubled relationships, a family estranged by years of disappointment, and a history of addiction. But none of this information connected to his murder. It only painted a broader landscape of a lost life, devoid of the identity that could unravel the circumstances of his untimely end. In the evenings, the sheriff would sit alone in his office, dimly lit by a single overhead bulb, surrounded by the remnants of his investigation, scrawled notes, photographs of Evan in various stages of life, and pages of potential suspects that never materialized. With coffee growing cold beside him, he reflected on the futility of chasing shadows, his confident determination wavering with every passing moment. In the quiet of the night, the town remained blissfully unaware of the doubt and despair creeping into their community. As rumors circulated and tension brewed, Thompson sensed that the longer they failed to uncover answers, the more vulnerability seeped into Grayson's core. With each dead end, the sheriff felt himself drawn further into a labyrinth of uncertainty, a slow march toward desperation. A break in the case. Just as the weight of hopelessness seemed unbearable, a glimmer of light broke through the clouds. The early winter frost had settled over Grayson, coating the town in a glistening chill that amplified the stillness of the night. The phone rang in the sheriff's office, its sharp tone cutting through the silence like a knife. "Sheriff Thompson," came the voice of Officer Collins, a rookie with a keen sense of intuition. "I've got something you might want to see." The urgency in his tone was palpable. Collins had been canvassing a more remote part of the woods and had stumbled upon something that set his pulse racing. Meeting at the site, Thompson felt a surge of hope, a feeling he hadn't experienced in weeks. Officer Collins stood near a cluster of trees, a glint of something unnatural poking through the underbrush. They both knelt down. What lay hidden became clear, and what they uncovered sent chills down Thompson's spine. It was a small, weathered backpack, its zippers rusty and a few seams unraveling. But it was the contents that captured their attention. Inside, they found scattered belongings: a half-burned candle, a journal filled with frenzied handwriting, and a small Polaroid photo of a young woman with striking features, her eyes filled with vibrant. Thompson's brow furrowed as he flipped through the journal, filled with erratic sketches and musings that hinted at a mind grappling with turmoil. "There has to be a connection here," he murmured to Collins. The cogs of intuition turned. This could lead us to Evan's life before Grayson. The photo, too, sparked questions that demanded answers. Who was the woman? Did she know Evan? As they inspected the contents, an unmistakable sense of urgency washed over them. They had not merely stumbled upon a break in the case. They unearthed a vital thread that could unravel the entire fabric of Evan's story. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a sense of purpose ignited in Thompson. The investigation would reignite, and with a little luck, they might finally begin to thread together the pieces that had long eluded them. The suspect. With the discovery of Evan Dawson's backpack came new fervor, and the atmosphere in the sheriff's office shifted palpably. As Thompson and Officer Collins combed through the journal's chaotic entries, they felt a pull toward a particular passage that repeatedly mentioned a name Jessica Evers. It emerged like a siren's call, invoking curiosity and concern. Jessica was known in Grayson as a local artist, struggling to sell her work. Her name had arisen briefly during their initial interviews, but was dismissed, overshadowed by other details. Now, however, it loomed large in Thompson's mind. He resolved to dig deeper into her life and any potential ties to Evan. A visit to Jessica's studio uncovered more than he anticipated. Her workspace was cluttered yet vibrant, filled with unfinished canvases, paint-splattered floors, and two distinct portraits of Evan, framed prominently, while another faded into the background. The sight was unsettling, but the details painted a picture of obsession rather than mere admiration. Thompson's instincts flared as he questioned Jessica, probing her art and digging into her connection to Evan. Her demeanor shifted rapidly from aloof charisma to vulnerability. Answers she provided draped in a veil of evasion. He was just a friend, she insisted, a quiver in her voice contradicting her words. He was troubled. We met by chance, but whispers from locals hinted at another narrative, casting doubt on her story. Jessica had been seen arguing with Evan in the days leading up to his death, and even more incriminating was a sighting of her late one night near Collier Woods. The sheriff's mind raced, connecting threads that felt impossibly tangled yet eerily consistent. Hid her fixation on Evan Poole into a darker territory, giving rise to something horrific? Or was she merely a vessel of heartache in a tragedy they had yet to fully understand? As the chill of winter set in, Thompson sensed they were nearing a pivotal moment in the case. Jessica Evers now stood at the forefront of their investigation, her painted face cloaked in both innocence and suspicion, leaving the sheriff grappling with the dilemma of perception versus reality. The trial. Weeks turned into months, but the anticipation surrounding Jessica Evers ballooned as the trial approached. The once quiet town of Grayson had transformed into a hub of speculation, each citizen grappling with their own interpretations of the events that led to Evan Dawson's tragic death. News vans congregated in front of the courthouse, and the air was thick with tension as the community awaited justice. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was electric. Jurors filed in, their expressions unreadable, while onlookers filled the pews, eager to catch a glimpse of the woman accused of wielding chaos against an unsuspecting drifter. Thompson took his seat among the legal teams, his heart racing as he prepared for the spectacle to unfold. The prosecution laid out a compelling narrative. Evan and Jessica's tumultuous relationship, filled with passionate encounters and desperate arguments, had spiraled into tragedy on that fateful night in the woods. Witness accounts painted a picture of a young woman fighting demons of her own jealousy, insecurity, and the consuming need for validation. Each claim echoed through the chamber as palpable as the scent of polished wood and cigarette smoke. Jessica, her face a mask of anguish and defiance, maintained her innocence through the proceedings. Her attorneys painted a stark contrast to the prosecution's portrayal, arguing that Jessica was merely a tortured artist unkempt by life's disappointments. The key testimony from her friends painted her as a victim of circumstance, swept into a situation far beyond her control. As the days went by, both sides chipped away at their stories, the courtroom morphing into a battleground where emotions ran high. Graphic images from the crime scene were displayed, sending ripples of unease. Thompson sat still, absorbing every detail, every word twisted between accusations and defenses, like the brushstrokes of a tense canvas. On the final day, the courtroom held its breath as Jessica took the stand. Her eloquent recounting of the events contributed to the paradox: a woman caught in a web of turmoil and a suspected murderer. The jury remained immobile, teetering on a precipice, burdened with a decision that weighed heavily: truth versus perception, innocence versus guilt. As the gavel fell for deliberation, Thompson felt a glimmer of uncertainty creep in. He couldn't shake the haunting feeling that beneath the layers of testimony lay an even darker truth waiting to emerge. The aftermath. The verdict arrived like the sharp crack of a thunderclap, splitting the serene facade of Grayson in two. The courtroom erupted into whispers and gasps, a turbulent sea of disbelief and relief intermingling as the jury announced their decision. Jessica Evers was found guilty of manslaughter, a choice that would reverberate through the tightly knit community long after the final gavel fell. In the weeks following the trial, Grayson struggled to regain its former pace, the echoes of the courtroom casting long shadows over daily life. Grocery lines buzzed with chatter. Families gathered around dinner tables more somber than usual, and the specter of Evan Dawson loomed larger than life. An unspoken agreement settled among the townsfolk. They would never speak of the incident in the same light again. Sheriff Thompson observed the aftermath with a profound sense of melancholy. He found himself wandering the same streets where laughter once rang bright, the memory of cheerful exchanges now eclipsed by the shared trauma. Despite the conviction, the question of whether true justice had been served gnawed at him. They had locked away a woman still burdened by her own wounds, marking a culmination tinged with sorrow rather than celebration. In the following months, interviews with Jessica painted a complex picture of regret and confusion. She became a recluse, her art no longer a means of expression, but a haunting remnant of a life that had spiraled into chaos. For Thompson, the line between right and wrong blurred with every recollection of their investigation and the stories of the lost Evan. Jessica remained entangled. As winter gave way to spring, Grayson's pulse gradually returned, but there was no escaping the change. Votive candles marked spots in the woods. Little memorials that bore witness to the heartache of a town. Thompson knew that many still yearned for answers, but some truths lingered beneath the surface, never to be fully known. In the quiet, when the town held its breath, Thompson often found himself in the woods, walking the trails where Evan's life had come to an abrupt end. He sought solace in shadows, facing the intricacies of a case that would forever remain etched in his memory. There, amidst the towering trees, he made peace with the farewell to a troubled soul, irreplaceable loss of a life unknown, and the struggle to understand fragility of choices, haunted by the ghost. Reflection. As the shadows lengthened across Grayson, Sheriff Thompson found himself reflecting on a case that had not only tested the limits of his investigative skills, but also challenged the very essence of justice. The complexities of Evan Dawson's life and by extension Jessica Evers' choices, revealed the harsh realities of human existence, the fragility of dream, the weight of regret, and the ripple effects of tragedy. Sitting in his dimly lit office, the flickering light casting intermittent shadows across the walls, Thompson revisited journal discovered in the woods. Each page was a testament to struggles more profound than mere words could relay. It served as a reminder of the lives entwined in this narrative and intricate tapestry kicked up by the winds of fate. In the quiet moments, he would think of Evan's family, left only with unanswered questions and a sense of indignation. They would never know what led him to Collier Woods that night, or if the answers would ever provide closure. Jessica, meanwhile, carried the burden of her actions, forever altering the course of her own destiny. As the first hints of summer approached, Thompson understood that while the investigation had concluded, the story itself continued to evolve. Grayson had transformed, shaped by loss and reflection, bound by the lessons learned from the past. In a community where every life mattered, he vowed to honor those lost, reminding himself daily that justice is not solely about punishment, but rather the pursuit of a deeper understanding, forgiveness, and ultimately, peace.